With Black Ops 6 being out, there are so many weapons to choose from, so I went through and broke down the top 5 meta weapons that you should be using right now. With the first gun being the XM4, this is one of, if not the best AR in the entire game. It has a very fast TTK while also having no recoil as long as you're rocking my build. Firstly, we are going to be adding a optic. The iron sights are a little bit difficult to use and you will do a lot better if you rock the Kepler or the AS Reflex. Overall though, personal preference, run whichever optic you feel most comfortable with. For me, it's going to be the Kepler. For the muzzle, you guys got two different options. You can run the suppressor or the compensator. The suppressor is going to make it a little bit easier to streak up because the enemies aren't going to know where you're at. You're not going to show up on the radar when you fire your gun, but the gun will be a little bit bouncy, and so that's why I personally like the compensator a little bit more. It's going to give you a lot of vertical recoil control, making the weapon super easy to use at long range. For the underbarrel, because that muzzle is giving us the vertical, we need to get some horizontal recoil control. The vertical foregrip is going to do just that by increasing the horizontal by 40%, so now it should feel like you have a Crotus built into your gun. Next up, we are going to be adding a magazine. I do hope they increase the overall base ammo for every gun. They probably won't do so. It just feels like you have to run an extended mag on every single gun in this game because the maps are so tiny and hectic that you really do need the extra ammo. Next up, we are going to be going over to the stock, and you guys can run the balance stock or the combat stock. The balance stock will be a little bit better if you want to play it more aggressively, really use it like an SMG, but the combat stock gives you a lot of flinch resistance, so if you're using it at long range and the enemy shooting at you, your screen isn't going to really shake as much, and you get a lot of aim walking movement speed, so if then you can stray faster in your gunfight, making yourself a harder target to hit, and you can activate the rotational aim assist a little bit easier. This is going to be the 5 attachment build. We aren't going to be going over the 8 attachment ones just because I feel like you don't really need 8 attachments. These guns are already very good with like no attachments, and you can get more value out of like, you know, having extra tacticals or extra perks. The next gun that we are going to be going over, this is going to be the C9, otherwise known as the MP5. This is a very high mobility gun with not that much damage range, but it has a very fast TTK as long as you're up and personal with the enemies. This build is going to allow you to do so. It does feel like Mike Tyson has like a little house inside your gun. It just kicks to left and right like crazy, so we're going to be using the compensator. One thing I want you guys to look at is going to be the overall gun kick control that we get when we add the compensator. 34% increase. This is going to help you out more than the horizontal and the vertical recoil control. It just eliminates a lot of the shake, making it actually viable at long range, even though it doesn't have that much damage range. You would think we're going to add a barrel, but it just doesn't really help out the gun. The bolt velocity increase is nice, but it's just, I feel so much more valuable when I use the vertical. Adding that horizontal, eliminating the side to side bounce, muzzles eliminating the vertical. This is going to eliminate the opposite. For the magazine, we are going to be using the extended mag. Feel free to run the extended mag too. This is actually very beneficial, but it hurts the gun, and the extended mag is only going to hurt your reload quickness, so I personally like the extended mag 1. Next up, we are going to be using the quick draw grip. This is a attachment that people don't really realize how important it is. So if we look at these detailed stats real quick, you guys are going to see that our sprint to fire speed is 130 milliseconds, so people would think that's when you're going to be able to fire your gun after sprinting. Typically, you don't fire the gun until your ADS, so you want a very fast ADS speed. If you have a slow ADS speed, your true sprint to fire speed is going to be pretty slow. Now, if we add the quick draw grip, we get a 30% increase, bringing it closer to that sprint to fire speed, and you're just going to notice yourself winning so many more gunfights. Although the CQB grip and the ergonomic are pretty good, it's just I think the quick draw is a little bit better, and you guys will like it more. But the last attachment, we got the nose stock. Typically, the nose stock would hurt the gun, but in this game, it actually doesn't do anything like that. It's just going to increase your hip fire movement speed, and the sprinting movement, your strafing movement speed. So now you can strafe very fast, making yourself a harder target to hit, and you can move around the map very, very quickly. Makes the weapon feel so light. There are some other variations, but again, this is just what I think overall is going to be the best for you guys and what I really like right now. Here's the screenshot. The next build we're going to be going over is the AMES. The AMES is actually a slower firing, a slower killing gun, but at times it can feel like it kills faster because of the lack of recoil and how it just has a lot of mobility and the faster fire rate. It just feels very good in your hand to where you can have a little bit more confidence and you can win a lot more gunfights. This is seriously a very good gun. So for the optic, we got the ASU Spot Reflex. It doesn't really matter. You can rock whatever one you want. Sometimes I'll use the Kepler or the ASU. Again, for the muzzle, we got the compensator. Again, if you want to be off the radar, rock the suppressor. We're not going to be using a barrel. We're not going to be using a underbarrel. We are going to be using the extended mag, so you don't really have to worry about reloading as much. Because you can be so aggressive with this gun, we are going to be using the quick draw grip. This allows me to win so many more gunfights, although you could take this off if you really do want to have a barrel. One thing about having a barrel that's really nice, like for example the gain twist, is that you get a lot of bolt velocity. The higher bolt velocity you have, the better hit registration you're going to have, so it's going to feel like you're playing on a better ping. And so if your ping is pretty bad, honestly I would take off the rear grip, like the quick draw grip, and add the gain twist barrel. And next up, we are going to be using the balance stock. This can increase that strafing movement speed, your hip fire movement speed, and your aim walking speed, making yourself a harder target to hit and just making the weapon a lot lighter, and it's just overall going to be a whole lot more enjoyable. Here are the detailed stats. You can move around the map 10% faster, although the sprinting movement speed is actually a little bit more important because you're always sprinting, you're not really walking, but you will feel a lot lighter with this one. So oh, and if you guys want the screenshot for this one, there you guys go. By the way, if you're stressing about camos or simply just don't have time for them, check out my long-term sponsor Guapsi. They will legitimately play in your account to hard unlock whatever you please. They can do the camos to the gun levels, and this goes for zombies, warzone, and multiplayer. They don't use an unlock tool, and this doesn't break 2S, so there is no risk of being banned, and no one has before. So if you want to save your time and energy, go to the top link in my description and check out guapsi.com. This next gun is going to be the TANTO. As you can see with this build, we're going to have no recoil, pretty fast time to kill. I just missed every single shot, but when you're in game, it's going to be pretty easy to use. I really like this gun because it's like an AR in the body of an SMG. So much damage, and then you still have so much mobility, allowing you to really, play however you want with the gun. This is one of the most popular SMGs in the game. So for the muzzle, again, you can rock the suppressor or the compensator. The compensator will allow you to actually map people. I've cross-mapped so many people that are using the XM4 when I'm using this TANTO, but the suppressor will keep you off the radar, making those tactical nukes and just streaking in general a little bit easier. We are not going to be adding a barrel or a under barrel, although you could take off the extended mag and then add the reinforced barrel. This will give you a little bit of damage range, and then you get a lot of bolt velocity. And the bolt velocity is nice because it just makes it so the weapon feels more responsive. It feels like you're on a better ping, but I do find a little bit more value after I ran the extended mag, just so I don't have to really reload as much. It allows me to spawn trap the enemies since the spawns are so bad, and so it's just really up to you. With the rear grip, we again got the quick draw grip. The ADS speed is really slow without it. If we go ahead and maybe add the ergonomic, it's going to be 165 milliseconds. The sprint to fire speed is 120 milliseconds, so you're still not going to be able to fire the gun that fast after sprinting. You will get outgunned by a lot of other guns. When I added the quick draw, I was winning so many more gunfights against very good players, and so that's why I really recommend for you guys. For the stock, we are going to be using the no stock. It's nice in this game. The no stock doesn't give you any cons at all. You're just going to get a lot of hip fire movement speed, and strafing movement speed, making yourself a harder target to hit, and you can just get from point A to point B a little bit quicker. And then if we look at the detailed stats, I just want to show you guys real quick how much you get. One thing I really don't like, how when I'm hovering over the no stock, it doesn't say how much I'm getting. I have to like click on another attachment, then go back, and so now we get 17% for the movement speed, and then 28% for the crouch movement speed, which that really doesn't matter unless you're actually burger walking around the map, which hopefully if you're watching this video you don't play like a burger. And then lastly, because you can use it at long range, we are using the overpressured rounds, which is going to increase the bolt velocity on the gun. When you are doing this, now the bolt velocity is going to be 700 meters per second, giving you hit scan up to about like 35 meters. So right when you fire the gun, the bullet is going to instantly hit the enemy. There's not going to be any bullet travel. After about 35 meters, then there is going to be bullet travel if we're following how Modern Warfare 3 was built. Hopefully that's not too confusing, but overall, if you guys want my favorite TANTO build, there you guys go. Now for the last build on this entire video, this is going to be the AS VAL. This is the last gun you unlock, a very unique weapon. It has a built-in suppressor. This build has really not that much recoil. It's not like a gun that you can really, okay, we just being that target at long range. So I guess you can use it at long range, but then this build has so much mobility, allowing you to use it up close. This is kind of like the inverse of the TANTO. It's a AR in the, wait, no, yeah, I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm starting to tweak now. So for the class, we are going to be using the suppressed gain twist barrel. This is going to keep you off the radar still, and then we get a lot of bolt velocity. It's just going to make it so, you feel like you're on a better ping. The bolt velocity is now going to be 1,072 meters per second, giving you hit scan up to about 45 meters, which is insane. Like if you have a bad connection, this gun is going to be the one for you. Next up, because the gun is a little bit bouncy, we are going to be using the vertical foregrip. It's going to eliminate all that horizontal recoil control. Let me show you guys real quick. 40% increase for that, and then a little bit of our recoil gun kick, making the iron sights a little bit easier to use. And then before I get a lot of comments of people saying like, why don't I go over to the fire mods and use the recoil springs instead of the underbarrel? Yes, we get a lot of recoil control. We get 20%, 10%, 20%, which, so this is still a great option, but but I swear there's just so much less recoil when I have the vertical. You can test it out for yourself, but that's probably why you're watching this video, so you don't have to do that. Just the vertical, to me, it just feels so much better. Again, for the magazine, this gun only has a base amount of 20 rounds, and the fire rate's insane, so where you have to run a magazine, and so I hope they fix that because it really is a crutch attachment. What I'm going to be using is the extended mag 2, just so I have 40 rounds, but it does hurt the handling a bunch, as you guys can see, and the mobility, and it's just, you know, makes sense to balance it. I think it's just because the overall stats of the weapon is so good that they don't want to make it too overpowered. To bring up a lot of the ADS speed that we are losing with the magazine, we are going to be using the quick draw grip. This can increase the ADS speed to 190 milliseconds. The sprint to fire speed is 210, and so you're not going to be able to fire the gun until 210 milliseconds, and that's just the way that they balance it because the gun is just overall extremely nasty. The ergonomic grip is also going to be a very good option. It's going to make it so your slide to fire speed is a little bit faster, but that's only going to help you if you go into a hip fire after sliding. Hopefully that makes sense, trying to explain this in the most clear way possible. And then lastly, for the stock, we got the no stock on there, just allowing you to get pretty close and personal with the enemies, increasing movement speed, strafing movement speed, and your hip fire movement speed. And so if you guys want to screenshot my favorite AS VAL build, there you guys go, which that is going to wrap it up for this. So if you did find this video helpful and you want to have more helpful tips, make sure you hit the subscribe button with the noties on, leave a like, and deuces.